Radhey Radhey. In my last talk, I shared some valuable information about a gift that has been endowed upon us by God. And that gift is the gift of this human life. So through an analogy in the Vedas, I explained that the self or the soul is the master of the chariot. The body is the chariot. The intellect is the charioteer, and the mind is the bridle. So this chariot in the form of this human life has been endowed upon us by God out of His causeless mercy. And this human life, the greatest virtue of this human life is that we have the extreme privilege of reaching our ultimate goal of divine love realization. However, we have been riding in this chariot in the form of this human life since time immemorial, and still we have not reached our final destination of God's love. So what we have to do is set our course right. And in order to do so, we have been equipped with the mind and the intellect. So the mind and the intellect are two facets of the one mind. One is the desiring mind and the other is discriminating mind. So the scriptures tell us that we have to govern our mind and our senses on the strength of the intellect, which is the discriminating mind, in order to reach our final destination of divine love realization. Now, in today's lecture, I would like to share some thoughts on an important topic that crosses the mind of many individuals, and that is, does God assume a form? There are some people who question the concept of a personified descension of God because they believe that He is only an impersonal entity. But they must know that the scriptures clearly state that God possesses contradictory qualities. Ajayamano bahudha vijayate, Yajurved. Isn't it silly to presume that the Almighty, all-powerful Supreme Being who creates innumerable universes and countless subtle elements merely with a smile cannot take a form Himself? God has innumerable, incomprehensible divine powers. When He has such unlimited powers, what is so surprising about Him assuming a form? Just as a formless soul assumes a body, God assumes a form. The only difference is the individual soul, being under the control of Maya, assumes a material body, and the body he acquires is in accordance with his past actions. God, on the other hand, takes on a divinely blissful form according to His own free will through His power, Yogmaya, in order to shower divine bliss on individual souls. To raise the objection that if God has a form, He would have surely have been visible to us sometime is naive. Because the reason is that God's form is divine, whereas our vision is material. It is only when an individual soul attains eligibility through the practice of devotion that he attains divine vision through God's grace. Whereupon he sees the divine form of God everywhere. The experience of saints in our history provides evidence of this very truth. Even in this world, we have examples of formless substances taking form. Our scriptures describe that God created the element space. Now, space does not have the property of touch, but from space came air, which possesses the quality of touch. From air came fire. From fire came water. From water came earth. Now observe, from the formless element space, which is devoid of even the quality of touch, we have earth, which contains the properties of touch, taste, smell, sound, and so on. Now, is it not absurd to argue that such an all-powerful God could not assume a form? I would think so. I think it is extremely absurd. Some object saying that just like in the world, when a cloud releases water, it ceases to exist. And when a cloud is formed, its cause, the vapor, causes to, or rather ceases to exist. In the same way, the omnipresent, formless absolute will not remain all-pervasive if he assumes a personal form. This is the argument that people put forth. They fear that their formless God will cease to exist. However, such thinking is baseless. It is totally baseless. Material causes have different powers of action, whereas God has unlimited powers which are capable of doing anything. That is why he is referred to as the cause of all causes and the Almighty. If material causes had powers that could enable them to do anything and everything, they would no longer be referred to as material. Using material reasoning for all-powerful, all-capable God is naive. So to conclude, God does assume a personal form. The question is, how can we reach that personal form of God? What is that path that will lead us to God? Now, I'd like to leave you with a thought. That even though our goal is to reach God, who is bliss personified, the fact is that we cannot love God. Now this will make you wonder why I am saying so. So the answer to this question will be resolved in the next topic. श्रीमद् सद्गुरु सरकार की जय, श्रीमद् युगल सरकार की जय, जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे.